Greetings, Internet, and welcome to Parsing John, and also Happy New Year. Today we're going to take a look at Chapter 1, verse 19. It's got it right there. This is a pretty long new section for us. I think it goes all the way through verse 28, so it's going to be a while before we get all the way to the end. Here is our rubric that we're looking for as we go through and take a look at these verses. So please keep that in mind. Try to move this to a reasonably visible location, which is never easy. All right. Start off by reading it aloud. Kai haute estin he marturia tu Ioannu hote apestelan pros auton hoi Judaioi ex Ierosolumon hieres kai leuitas hina erotesosin auton sutis ei. Should try to end that one on a high note since we have a question right there. We can tell because we got the semicolon, and that is the type of punctuation one uses in Greek texts these days. They, of course, didn't have that type of punctuation. Okay, so taking a look at our very first sentence, we want to find a verb first. Kai haute estin. Estin is it right there. So we've got iota and the optional nu there. If this were a consonant right here, we would actually just have the iota normally. There are a few exceptions to that rule, none of which I can remember. So this is going to be a third person, singular, present. It is active, and it is indicative. This just means is. So we're looking for a singular subject. Immediately beforehand, we've got haute, which is a demonstrative. We've got an eta right there, which tells us that it's nominative singular feminine. This just means this. It's going to be referencing back to the word witness in our previous section. So you can also tell because marturia is right there. Kai just means and. Connecting this entire section to the previous paragraph. All right. Hey marturia. We've got a article there and its corresponding noun. So those two go together. Hey is the feminine nominative of the article, which are ho, hey, and to with an accent. I don't know why that one's the only one that gets an accent. That was probably week number 2 of Greek. Sad thing to forget. Okay, so this is naturally nominative, singular, feminine, the witness. All right, and then our last two words in the clause, tu Ioannu. I think there's actually supposed to be 2 news there. Missed that. Sorry. Bracket, omicron upsilon there, and omicron upsilon from the article. This is going to give us genitive, singular, and masculine of the John. All right, comma. Into our next clause, hote just means when. Apestelan, there we have a verb. So alpha nu is our ending, which is normally an aorist third person plural. But to confirm that, we want to take a look at the stem of the verb. So if you remove the endings, we're left with apestel. Aorist, unless it is subjunctive, is going to have a vowel that marks it as that tense at the very beginning of the stem. Op is technically just a prefix, a preposition apo. So you've got epsilon right there replacing the omicron we would normally expect with apo. So that does tell us that this is, in fact, correctly identified as a aorist. So third person, plural, aorist, active, and indicative. Okay. Oops. This is send, or sent, since we're in the past, sent out. Okay, so we want a plural subject. Pros is a preposition. This does not match that, so auton has to be the end of that prepositional phrase. Hoi is another article, and that is the nominative plural masculine form. So here we have our subject, and eu dioi, eu dioi, if you prefer. X is another preposition, so this is going to end that prepositional phrase. Those two don't match. Block that one off. All right. Nominative plural masculine. That is terrible looking in. Okay. The Jews, if it's a substantive adjective, or Jewish somethings if it is just acting as a normal adjective. And in order to determine that, we need to look ahead at the rest of the sentence, see if there is any actual other nominative plural noun for eudioi to modify. It would also, of course, have to be masculine because eudioi is masculine. This is our prepositional phrase, so it doesn't match. This takes genitive. Hieres. This one could be a third declension nominative plural, or technically accusative plural. And it is masculine. So this could be the noun which eudioi modifies. This means priests. But let's move ahead just to double check, because since it is an accusative, it could instead be the object of our verb. If we took a look at the rest of the sentence and we didn't find an accusative anywhere, this was the only option for it, it would make more sense to take that as the object of the verb than as the subject, because we have a noun for our subject, but we need something for the verb to act on. So direct object is the more likely of the two without further context. All right, kai, leuitas. Here we've got an alpha sigma ending and kai, which is a coordinating conjunction, connecting these two. So whatever hieres is, leuitas also has to be. So if leuitas is nominative, then hieres has to be nominative as well. But if leuitas is accusative, then hieres also has to be accusative. Kai can really only connect two of the same type of things. It cannot connect a nominative to a dative. I'd go through an example, but no. All right, so we take a look at this. Alpha sigma is a accusative plural feminine ending of the first declension, but this word is actually masculine. It just takes first declension endings. And that would be not nominative, accusative, plural, and gosh, making a lot of mistakes, sorry. Masculine. This just means Levites. All right, so since this one is the barely legible accusative, this one also has to be accusative, which means that this adjective is actually acting substantively. All right, so this one is our subject. Cross out Jewish and circle Jews. All right, so when the Jews sent out priests and Levites. All right, now before we continue, it's actually an interesting bit here, sort of. In English, we have the word Levites, which, taking a look at the two, they're actually spelled the exact same way, except for E right here instead of that A. With one exception. Here in Greek, we've got an upsilon, and in English, we've got a V. Now, if we were to grab the Latin form of the word, we would actually have work pen. I think it is also A in Latin. But we do also have the V in Latin, because Latin has that consonant. Greek does not. Way back in the Homeric period, and there was a vowel which was just falling out of use in the majority of the Greek world, and it was known as digamma. And it looked like that. Two gammas, one on top of the other, hence di, two, gamma, that letter. And in the lowercase, I think it just looks like the same thing, except smaller. So kind of like our letter F. And this is what the Greeks would use for the W sound, equivalent to the Latin V. But upsilon and V, the Latin V, are very similar letters, except in Greek, upsilon, to my knowledge, is only ever a vowel, whereas V in Latin is both a consonant and a vowel. It takes the place of the U also. All right, so if this were written 900 years before John actually wrote it, then he probably would have used a digamma, depending on what region of the world his form of Greek came from. I can't remember which dialects used it, but anyway, interesting historical fact there. 900 BC or so, this was a thing. After 800 BC, not so much. Kind of sad. All right, so I guess I should say this fell out of use prior to when Homer's Iliad was written down. Okay, there are a couple words out there which, in their archaic forms, had this, and if we ever come across one, I'll try to remember to point out. Moving on. All right, now we can go to our prepositional phrases. Pros takes the accusative. in its object. We've got on right there, so that's accusative, singular, masculine, and it is in reference to John right there, to him, showing location. All right, ex Yarosolumon, hard word to say. That is genitive, plural, and it is, I believe, feminine. Sorry. Okay. Let's see if I can spell this right. I wrote it down. The English spelling and the Greek spelling do not look at all alike. It's kind of annoying. All right. So another interesting note here. We've got omega nu, and it's plural. Now, a lot of city names in the ancient world were plural in form, though in English we treat them as singulars. Athens is plural in form. I want to say Thebes is also plural in form. Corinth, I think, was singular. Yeah, I don't remember all of them, but a majority of the city names were plural, but we in English translate them as singular, though Athens ends in an S. All right, so far so good. Hina here introduces a new clause. This is probably going to be a purpose clause. Let's take a look at our verb, see if we've got a subjunctive. Erotesosin and auton are only two. Auton is definitely not. It's the same thing there, so we can just hold this parsing down. Sosin is our ending right there. So we could have a subjunctive. We know we definitely have a third person and plural. So we take a look at our stem. We got erotes. We know the future, it doesn't have a subjunctive form. So keep in mind, everyone, that's always a trick question that teachers love to pull on their students. What is the future subjunctive? The answer is there is no such thing. It's a trick question always. So this looks like the future stem, but if you recall the way that the subjunctive is formed, this tense vowel, like that one right there that we have in this word, it does not appear in this subjunctive form. It falls out, or we don't put it in. So we would expect it to be erotes with an eta right there. But since it's not, still it could be our aorist stem. We do have perfect endings set up for that. It's definitely not the present one, because that's erotao, I believe. So there, the alpha would be combining with something else, and the sigma would not appear. So this is going to be aorist, subjunctive. Active. Okay. They may ask. All right. So take a look at Hina, and that is indeed going to be introducing a purpose clause. Order that they may ask him. They may ask him, direct quotes now. Su tis a. Su is a personal pronoun. It's going to be nominative and singular. It is neither masculine. There isn't an individual masculine or an individual feminine form, so we don't have to write that in. Okay, that's just you. A is our verb there. It's the second person singular of Amy. Present, active, and indicative. Our tis comes from tis, ti. It is a interrogative pronoun, and it just means who. And it is, of course, going to be nominative and singular. It does have a neuter form, so we should write in that it is masculine. Okay, so we've got it all in there. We'll close that off and add in our English punctuation, as is appropriate because we got that semicolon. From the beginning, we've got, and this is the witness of the John. When the Jews sent out to him from Jerusalem priests and Levites, and order that they may ask him, who are you? And there's verse 19 for you. I hope taking a look at this was interesting, learning about archaic letter digamma. Probably should have written that down. Digamma. And I hope looking at verse 19 was fun. And I hope that you also join me next time. Happy New Year and farewell.